Alright YouTube, so just gonna talk to you guys about what my plans are for the van. So as time's gone by, plans sort of changed a little bit, not by much, but just as I drive it more, I start seeing what I could kind of do with it and what I shouldn't do with it, and just kind of putting that together. So I mean, overall the plan is to make this one day, not tomorrow, but one day, be like a cool road trip car for my family. And I get it, like it's not that safe, and that's one thing that I have to consider, right? Like, what kind of trips am I going to be doing? Obviously, I think that this is not going to be the road trip car that I take if we need to get on the interstate and stay on the interstate for, 15 hours on end. I'm not going to take this car. I have other cars I can drive for that. But if it's something where we're taking like more of a pleasure drive and we have time to stop, we take kind of country roads, we can jump on the interstate, but it's not like a necessity. Even though, I mean, from this last trip that I took with it and my brother and my cousins and stuff, to Jefferson swap meet last weekend, it actually showed the fact that the van is pretty reliable and it can do things like, and that's kind of what I was talking about. As you drive more, you find out more of its limits. But I could drive this van 70 miles an hour, 3-4 hours at a time, and it was fine. It did everything it needed to do. It didn't have a problem with it. But that being said, that was different. I didn't have my kids. It wasn't that hot. Today it's about 70-some degrees, and it's toasty in here, and I'm wearing pants. And, you can definitely feel the heat. It's not something I'd want to do for too long, but it's fine. I'm driving home from work right now. It's not like I'm going to be in here for the next few hours. So overall though, inside, I mean, that's my goal with me. So inside, things I want to do, I want to obviously put something like a headliner on here. I'm still kind of open to that, mainly because there's some holes in the roof I need to patch up. Before I do that, I was thinking of doing a little bit more of a not so permanent headliner, and maybe using some bamboo tweed or something up on the roof, and so that if water got in, it just kind of leaked through and it wasn't a big deal. But as time's gone by, I've decided that I might just take the time, patch up the holes now so that they're done, and then put a more permanent headliner. I keep going back and forth as to what materials I'm going to use. I kind of like the idea of using plywood up there, but I have some cool like Mexican blankets that I think would be, like, one Mexican blanket I have is almost the size of the roof, and it would be really cool to put that up there. So as time goes on, we'll see what actually goes up there, but that's part of the plan. Also make the back seat. Right now I just have back seats from like an 80-something Dodge van, and they look sort of area correct. Like, they're vinyl, they're blue, they kind of match up with the front seats a little bit. So they don't look so out of place, so I'm not so worried about that. And they have seat belts, which works because I carry my kids in here sometimes. Put the car seats in pretty easily, have tie downs for that. So I'm not totally opposed to keeping those seats, but I'd like the back seat, the third row seat, to turn into a bed, so that if I take road trips or go camping in this, that's an option. But I also would like the back to be able to still function as kind of like a work truck. So I'm trying to find like a hybrid between both, because I carry a lot of wood, plywood, things like that in here, and I want to keep doing that. Eventually my plans are to lower it, and once I lower it, I should be able to clear my carport if I were to put a rack on it. Right now I can put Yakima bars on it and it clears the carport fine. But if my goal is to put like a construction van rack and paint it white, and then put it on the roof and carry plywood and stuff like that up there. So that's sort of the plan so far. The interior, obviously I got a lot more ideas. Right now on the doors, there's just plywood door panels on the back doors, which is cool. I'm going to start drawing some stuff on there and just kind of seeing how that looks. The plus side of that, the whole door panel thing cost me about 10 bucks to make, because I just got a sheet of plywood and cut up the squares that fit there. So I'm not, I don't feel like I'm throwing away money by experimenting with it. If I don't like it too, I might just wrap those wood panels in some blue vinyl or some plaid material I mean, if you have ideas, please comment on here, because I'm open to, I mean, right now it's, the reason I haven't done anything is because I haven't settled on one thing to do. So I don't want to like do something only to pull it apart later. Plus, I mean, if I do something, I want it to be something I'm sort of maybe not in love with, but enough where I would want to see what it looks like. I don't want to just do stuff and be like, this was a terrible idea. Anyway, so that's kind of the plan. Inside, I gotta insulate this thing some more. I gotta put some insulation on the roof, but I gotta cover up the holes first. Insulate the roof, insulate the engine bay a little bit more, insulate the doors, just kind of quiet it down, because if I want to use it for road trips, I want it to be able to like at least talk to someone else in the car. You can do that now, but it's really noisy. It's gonna need door seals when I get later on in the build. Right now, for what I'm doing with it, I'm driving to work, driving to swap meets. It's good the way it is. I don't need to push that envelope too much. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my plan with the van. Had it for a year now. This first year, really the main goal of it was to get it reliable, which I feel like it is at this point. A year ago when I bought it, it didn't run, didn't stop. It just had a motor, and it had been abandoned since 1999. So now it's at the point where it runs, it drives, all the electrical stuff is new. The engine, I redid the head, redid the transmission, put a whole bunch of other small things that were bad on the motor, switched it over to electric ignition, and put a new starter and whatnot, and it really, hold on, it's gonna trade. It really has showed that those things alone, just putting new tires on it, got them balanced. I didn't even do an alignment on this thing. The alignment is actually really good, just the way it sits. But when I do lower it, that might change. I'm not sure how the alignment's gonna go with that, but we'll see. So, and you know, that's kind of where I'm at. The suspension, I'd like to lower it. I don't want to redo a new suspension and go something crazy. With this, I really like the simplicity of it and just keeping it normal, not going crazy. Because with the Falcon I have, I kind of did a little bit more, I guess, like a lot of people are like, oh, do this, do that, put a V8 in it, and like, that sounds great, right? It drives cool, I like it, but it kind of kills the drivability of it a little bit as far as reliability, at least for me it did. So with the van, that's kind of why I didn't even mess with the motor. It has a 170 in it, it has a C4. I thought about putting an automatic overdrive, but with this motor, it wouldn't be so feasible. Just the bell housing pattern and stuff, but then I was like, oh, maybe I'll put a V8 in it and just save the money of fixing up this. But I like this setup. I like that it's simple. If I were to take it on a road trip, something were to break, I can carry most of the spare parts that would break on this motor with me at all times, if they were to break, and then, or just pick up parts at the auto parts store. This motor is not that rare, where it wasn't used recently. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. Suspension wise, I'm just gonna get Tim Brogan on the Econoline page, sells a kit to flip the axle on top of the leaf springs, and that should get me right about as low as I want to go. And then after driving it around like that, and if lowering it is something that I want to keep with it, I'm gonna switch over to airbags and keep the leaf springs, just remove some leaves, let it sit really low, and put some airbags in between to really hold the weight, so that the airbags do more of the work and the leaf springs are just there to place the axle where I want it, and do that front and rear. In the back, initially I'm going to see how it looks. If I see that it's too great, I'm going to remove a leaf or two and see how I like it then. But the goal is initially just to get it a little bit lower, but not slammed. Eventually I might have to cut up the floor a little bit so that the rear end goes where I want it, but ideally I'd want to see this thing pretty laid low on the floor. I don't want to cut up the wheel well, because the wheel wells are under the seat, so I kind of want to play with the idea of keeping everything where it's at and just seeing maybe different tire sizes or different scenarios. I have plenty of wheels I can swap back and forth with, so to see what it looks like. So that's kind of my plan right now. I just figured I'd make this video just to kind of let people know like where I'm going with the van, because I know I drive it a lot. I like this car a lot, the way it is, and I don't want to mess with the drivability of it, but I do want to make it cooler, and my way of making it cooler might not be your way of making it cooler, because I kind of like things that are not that nice. So yeah, if you want to keep following me on this kind of path to getting this thing more where I want it to be, and if you have input on this, please comment, subscribe, so we can kind of keep working on this. I really appreciate input, and yeah, thanks for watching.